What is going on, everyone? Tim from Tierphone Orbital. So today I would like to talk about an install that I completed on a hilt, a very rare hilt. There was only one run done of this hilt. So this is the Spirit of Chandrila. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. This is based on the hilt that you could acquire or could have acquired at the Galactic Starcruiser, which was the Star Wars hotel in Orlando. This hilt was designed and put in production by Jason, my dude Jason from Newhope Workshop. So it is a very, very unique hilt. I say rare because there was only a select number of people that were able to get this hilt. I think you could only get it if you stayed at the hotel. I am not as educated in this hilt as I probably should be, but it is a super, super uniquely designed hilt. There is so much room to play around with on the inside of this hilt, and there is an even larger amount of room in the pommel, and I took full advantage of that, right? A while back, I got one of the larger diameter speakers from Shtok Custom Works. Shtok released two versions of a very large format speaker, and they are made out of titanium. So there's a 31 millimeter and a 33 millimeter, I believe. So I picked up a 31 millimeter a while back just to see if I could get it into a hilt. I mean, we don't have a lot of hilts that have that much space on the inside, but I definitely wanted to test it out, right? So this pommel had plenty of room for that. It is a very bulbous pommel. So there was plenty of room to get that speaker in there. So I definitely wanted to build this install around getting that larger format speaker in the pommel, right? So I do want to come into Fusion and talk about this chassis and what I had to do to incorporate that speaker. So it isn't in a speaker pod, obviously. So I want to talk about all of that. We'll come into Fusion, and then we will come up top and do a demo. This, honestly, the speaker sounds really good. It is really, really loud. So we will do a demo of that as well. Okay. So with all that out of the way, let's come into Fusion. Okay. So here is the chassis system that I devised for this install. Okay. We're going to start at the bottom. So this is the speaker pod. This 31 millimeter speaker kind of rests down in this pod, and then a cap is placed on top of it. This speaker pod has been glued into place. So it essentially lives in that pommel. You can unthread the pommel, obviously, and remove it. You kind of have to get the chassis in. But the speaker pod lives in the pommel, okay? So I was able to fully enclose this massive 31 millimeter speaker, okay, to take full advantage of its size and resonance. The main chassis is also removable, okay? So at the bottom, we have a 2-rail speaker pod PCB setup. This is from Smugglers Outpost, okay? I designed a cap. That way I can wire up my negative battery tab, as well as feed those speaker conductor wires up to the board compartment, right? And then once all of that is wired up, I glue that cap in place. Around that PCB, this is just Halcyon in Arbesh, okay? And then here is the chassis. I mean, relatively simple chassis in that I didn't put any blinkies or lights on it, but there is plenty of greebly work on both sides, okay? This is a Proffie V3 build, so the Proffie does tuck up underneath this lip and is secured in place. And then at the bottom, there is a kill switch. Up top, we've got a 6-rail PCB. This is what makes a connection to not only the switches, but the lit PCB in the upper section of the hilt. This is from Stardust Sabers, okay? But that's pretty much it. A relatively straightforward removable chassis. It kind of went back to my roots here. This was done in resin, so I could get all of that detail out of those greeblies, right? And that's pretty much it, okay? Again, just relatively simple, removable chassis core setup. But where this thing shines is in the speaker. All right, so let's come up top. Okay, so here it is. This is the Spirit of Chandrila. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Again, I'm probably not, knowing me. So let's start at the bottom here, obviously, right? So let's get a look at this speaker. So to get at your chassis, you want to unthread this pommel. So the speaker pod is down in here, okay? you can unthread this lower part. This is actually, so this is a very, very well made hilt, by the way, right? Really, really nicely machined. All of the threads are super, super clean. It's just a really great hilt, okay? So here is that speaker pod. Absolutely massive speaker. Please don't mind my Band-Aid on my thumb here. I had an unfortunate incident with a Dremel yesterday. So please pay no mind to that. So here is that speaker pod. 31 millimeter speaker, titanium is in here. Okay, so that just kind of lives in the pommel. All right, I'm going to keep that threaded in place. And here is that chassis. Right, so I did a pass of pewter rub and buff on this guy, and that's it, and then sealed it. This is the typical application that I do on my chassis just to make it look like worn metal, right? Battery compartment is here. There is that speaker PCB setup from Smugglers Outpost, and then a 6-rail PCB up top. This is from Stardust Sabers, okay? And then our battery tray. So let me get a battery really quick. To put the battery in the hilt, negative side is, spring side is your negative, okay? So you want to put your battery in that battery tray. Now, you're not going to hear anything because the speaker's not connected, right? But this is a Proffie V3, so when you hit your kill switch, you will see that you've got power. Okay, that little green light will light up. So once you get your battery in, you are ready to go. Okay, so this is also free floating. It's just a really great hilt. Solid hilt. Okay, once you get your battery in place, you can put your chassis in and then thread that pommel on. You are ready to go. Loud, but like, so honestly, it is very loud, but it's not overpowered. So it's not like super tinny, super like trebly loud. It's not obnoxious. It just, the speaker sounds really good is what I'm trying to say, which surprised me. Okay. All right. So. Yeah, I mean, it's loud, but it sounds good. Okay. All right, so let's come down to the bottom. Okay. So there is a blade plug in there. It comes with the hilt. Nice blade plug. Yeah, I mean, it's really loud. So it's loud. It's a loud speaker, but it sounds good. There's a not perfect, but there's a good balance of all the highs, mids, and lows with this speaker. So I've used like 30 millimeter speakers before, and I've never heard the difference between a 30 millimeter and a 28 millimeter. They sound the same to me. And some of the 30 millimeters are super tinny, really, really high on the treble end, right, of the sound spectrum. This speaker sounds really good, man. Just a great balance, right? This would be, I don't particularly like my hilts to be loud. But this would be a great hilt, like if you're in a crowd of people or if you're going to a con, this would be a good speaker for that, right? Sounds good. Okay. All right. Let's put a blade in it. Okay, so this is a 1-inch blade holder. All right. You want to just kind of rest your blade on those PCB pins. There is a set screw around front here. You can tighten that set screw to hug that blade in place. You are ready to go, okay? Really nice feeling hilt too. All right. See what else we got on here. So in the config, I really pushed the sound setting on this speaker. I think it's at like 2500. I mean, I don't know if you could go louder. You probably could. It's a very large speaker. Okay. One more.
What is it? Father's Lightsaber. This is the weapon of a Jedi Knight.
One more.
Kylo Ren.
Yeah, like the deeper sounding fonts. Wow. Oops. Sound really great. Okay. Sounds really good. Anyway, so that is it. That is the Spirit of Chandrila from Newhope Workshop. Awesome, awesome hilt. Jason from Newhope Workshop's been around for a while. He's a great dude. If you haven't checked him out, give him a follow. But yeah, solid hilt, well machined. I mean, the threading is great. It sounds great with this speaker. I was really, really surprised about how this speaker performed, honestly. Right? So, solid hilt. So, anyhow, that is all I have. If anyone has any questions about this hilt or this install, please do not be a stranger. And with that being said, may the force be with you always. Have a good one, everybody.